I'm not making any money. This is for educational purposes only. Fair use. Fair use. Yeah. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Kahaloyum Yahweh. Bahasham. Yahweh Shai. Bahasham. Racha HaKodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold, Shalom. To you sisters, your Achwathiim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Aram Yahawada with the lesson. Yeah, so as you can see right here, it's just like breaking news. This one came out 20 hours ago, 6 hours ago. As you can see, the leaders of the Western world have sanctioned Trump, right? And so this is like a very hot topic. You know, the inspiration of this is the elder Malcolm. He was doing one on it earlier today. I was it was really early in the morning. I was still driving, so you know I've been up all night, so driving to make it home. And Lord willing, you know, Lord bless my travels, and I made it home safe. But I am here now to move off of that inspiration that the elder gave me, right? And through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Shai, Lord willing, this to be edifying, right? Because, you know, let's see.
So here it is. The unthinkable just became official. The United States, long seen as a beacon of democracy, has now been hit with coordinated sanctions by its own allies. Not by China, not by Iran, not by Russia, but by the European Union, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia. The same partners who once stood with us from Normandy to Kandahar, and now they have locked arms to penalize the very nation they once called indispensable. Think about that. The allies we spent decades lecturing on freedom and integrity are now treating Washington like a government that has lost its way, and they left no room for doubt. The target is Donald Trump and the network surrounding him. We are talking frozen assets, revoked travel permissions, and blocked financial pipelines. An operation that looks less like diplomacy and more like a coordinated crackdown. 17 of his loyalists and more than 40 businesses built to leverage influence through branding and backroom dealings were all hit at once. The announcement was so precise and so synchronized that it landed like a global subpoena. Brussels, London, Ottawa, Canberra, same second, same message. We are done pretending he represents us. This was not about tariffs, trade disputes, or disagreements over commodities. This was a pre-market precision strike timed for maximum impact before Wall Street even had its morning coffee. The language was not diplomatic, it was direct. They cited corruption, constitutional abuse, and a systematic effort to undermine democratic norms. And for once, the phrase Western alliance did not mean unity. It meant intervention. They did not sanction Trump because they opposed America. They sanctioned him because they no longer believed the United States remained stable under his leadership. It feels like waking up and realizing your closest friend has filed a restraining order. America's most trusted allies, the same nations that once cheered with us in Berlin and stood beside us in conflict, now view our president as an unstable leader with questionable finances and a pattern of harmful decisions. They did not simply pull back. They acted. And the fallout is not about hurt feelings at diplomatic receptions. It is about damaged credibility, eroding influence, and a world that no longer waits for Washington to lead the way. This break did not appear overnight. It began the moment Trump entered the Situation Room with a personal grudge and a phone. He dismissed NATO as if it were a failed business venture, imposed tariffs like impulsive penalties, and treated long-standing allies like contestants on a reality show. When he told Canada to fall in line and mocked Merkel at a summit, it was not diplomacy. It was recklessness. From the beginning, his message was clear. Alliances were tools, not commitments, and he intended to trade them in like outdated casino chips. Allies were not confused. They were wary. From the start, they watched him dismantle decades of trust like a contractor stripping wires from a house he never intended to occupy. According to a detailed report from Politico, their intelligence agencies were already assembling a troubling picture. Documents, payments, behavioral shifts, and sudden silence from institutions that once spoke openly. The conclusion was stark. America under Trump was not unreliable by chance, it was unstable by design. Everything collapsed with the release of the so-called desert files, not a conspiracy theory, but clear evidence that Trump's finances were moving with foreign funds at a pace that raised alarms across allied capitals. Intelligence agencies had followed suspicious flows of money for years, tracing them from Moscow to Riyadh. But this was the first time they saw direct confirmation. One European official put it plainly: "We knew he was compromised. We just did not know how deeply." And when the leak verified their fears, diplomacy ended and containment began. That is how severe it became. These governments, the same ones that built the post-war order with the United States, decided that engaging with Trump was no different from dealing with a destabilizing actor, continuing to treat the U.S. as a dependable partner while he was in charge felt like letting a fox run the security system. Sanctions were not their first choice. They were not even the third. They were the final firewall to keep the instability from spreading. And when allies start using language usually reserved for hostile governments, you know it is no longer diplomacy, it is emergency response. Let us be clear. The United States, the architect of global sanctions, has now been treated as if it were a source of destabilization. For more than 240 years, we were the ones freezing assets and blocking flights. Now, the measures point inward. It is not only a reversal, it is an identity crisis at the scale of a superpower. Allies did not hesitate. They set boundaries. And it turns out the one nation we all assumed was immune to consequences was not. Now, let us talk logistics, because this was not a reaction written overnight. This was a coordinated strategy built over months. As early as late summer.
Yeah, so I finally found the part. So I'm going to go ahead and play this because all this is all starting to make sense. Because this is the same thing that this guy right here said. Because, it looks like, they're turning their back on them, on America. And they talk about no fly and this and that. And it's a funny thing that this is coming at the time that they're all countries right now, all countries, Russia, China, the UK, Vietnam, Ethiopia, they're all pushing the digital ID. And all of a sudden this thing's coming, no fly zone. What does that mean? Not to mention Mexico is building a wall, which I did a lesson on it, and there was a Mexican guy there, a construction worker. He said, "Hey, what are you doing?" He said, some white dude made a joke. He said, Trump gonna tell you this and that. He said, "No, this is Mexico is paying for this wall because they know the dollar is gonna collapse, and they don't want people running over into Mexico." So Trump was right. Mexico is paying for the wall, right? So this is funny that all this stuff is happening right around this time, right? And this is making this sanctions that they're putting on America is going to definitely put a financial wedge into this place and make the collapse happen faster, right? Because then even the people that you're ally, you can't source out and make money because you don't create anything here. And then who do you sell it to if you're sanctioned, right? So this just furthers the collapse. But let me get to this part because this is what I want you to hear. It's a little bit, but you'll see the point, Lord willing.
To you is a lie to us, but that's fine. I'd like to get into the situation that took place years ago. I know you're well aware of it. It was called the Bolshevist Revolution over in Christian Russia. It's been reported here on congressional documents in the United States, and it's in many places now, that actually it was Jews who financed the Bolsheviks' Jew Communist Revolution against the Tsar. Would you comment on that?
Well, it was really the Rothschild family that financed it because they got all the shekels. Boy, let me tell you, they got the shekels. When the old man died in 1812, he owned half of all the known wealth in the world. Oy vey. The rest of us got to chop up the rest of it. But Anyway, we started the Bolshevik revolution there because you might as well start with taking over the biggest country in the world, which was Russia. And we had the help to murder the Tsar from his cousins, the Kaiser, and the King and Queen of England. And so they helped us, and they gave us all the inside information that we needed to take the country over. And but we drained that country pretty well. There's not a lot left. And so we look for greener pastures. And we've been doing real good here in America for a long time, but it's time to do something else, so we're going to build up China and India, and we'll just let America sink into the desert, because no one really cares about America anymore. It's, there's not a lot of shekels to be made anymore. As they say, you can't get blood out of a stone, and we've got as much blood out of this stone as we're going to get. It's interesting because...
So yeah, see, you get the point what I'm trying to make right there. Because what do you say? They're pretty much done with America. But they're going to build up what? China and India, which that's the main thing that's been talked about right now. And now this thing's, Trump gave over the power to China. He fumbled everything, and now China's going to be the greatest thing on the world. No, this is all set up already. It was all planned. But a lot of you people are so stupid. The evidence has been out there, and it's right before your face. It's smacking you in the face. But you don't see it. You don't see it. See? But yeah. So they're going to build up China and Russia, and they're done with America. Ain't no more money to make out of this place. They're done. Right? Not to mention you just keep going in debt and debt and debt, and there's no way for you to pay it back. And that's ultimately what it is. There's no way to pay the debt back. Right?
President Donald Trump was awarded the FIFA's inaugural Peace Prize that was awarded by soccer's governing body.
And President Emmanuel Macron is on a 3-day visit to China, along with EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen.
Hostile drones reportedly breached a no-fly zone and flew towards the flight path of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's plane.
The European leaders are trying to persuade China to use its influence over Russia to bring peace in Ukraine.
December 7th, 2025. Remember this date, because this is when America officially surrendered global leadership. While Trump was giving himself a fake peace medal from FIFA's corrupt leadership, the U.S. government published its national security strategy. And buried inside is one sentence that just ended 75 years of American foreign policy. I'm going to read you the exact words. From an official government document. Words that handed the 21st century to China. Quote, cultivating resistance to Europe's current trajectory within European nations. The official policy of the United States is now to destroy the European Union. And while Trump fumbles with medals he gave himself, President Xi Jinping is being welcomed like an actual world leader at Sichuan University, where French President Macron just gave him a state visit that looked like a hero's welcome. This isn't opinion. This is documented fact. And it's the greatest strategic blunder in American history. Let's compare leadership, real leadership. President Xi Jinping hosted French President Emmanuel Macron for a genuine state visit this week. Thousands of students cheering at Sichuan University. Substantive diplomatic engagement between major powers. This is how superpowers behave. Trump? He threw himself a party at Mar-a-Lago with FIFA's head to receive a made-up peace prize. He couldn't even figure out how to put the medal around his neck. He fumbled with it like a confused child. But here's what makes this catastrophic. While Trump played dress-up, France was under attack. Russian drones circled France's nuclear submarine base. The French military engaged them. This is aggression against a NATO member, against America's oldest ally. Trump's response? Complete silence. No statement, no solidarity, nothing. Because Trump doesn't defend allies. He defends his ego. Meanwhile, the same week, Russian drones were positioned in Ukrainian President Zelensky's flight path in Ireland, an assassination attempt on a sitting head of state. If his plane hadn't arrived early, those drones could have struck the aircraft. American response? Still nothing. Because Trump has made his choice clear. He's with Putin, not with democracy. The National Security Strategy document doesn't hide it. It explicitly praises patriotic European parties, whose growing influence gives cause for great optimism. Who are these parties? Marine Le Pen's far-right National Rally in France. Nigel Farage's Reform Party in the UK. Germany's AfD, backed by J.D. Vance. These are ultra-nationalist movements with Russian ties designed to fracture Europe. The document also states America's goal is to re-establish strategic stability with Russia. That's diplomatic code for treating Putin as a partner after invasion, war crimes, and attempted assassinations. And here's the kicker. While claiming to support peace, Trump is actively removing sanctions from Russian oil companies. Lukoil just got permission to operate freely through 2026. America isn't imposing new sanctions. We're removing existing ones. We're helping Putin fund his war. The Trump administration has also been secretly lobbying EU member states to block plans that would use $300 billion in frozen Russian assets to help Ukraine. Your government is protecting Putin's money while Ukraine fights for survival. Now compare this to China. China has called for peace negotiations respecting Ukraine's sovereignty. China offered to mediate. China proposed frameworks that don't require territorial surrender. Which country sounds like the responsible superpower? German newspaper Der Spiegel obtained leaked notes from a classified call between Europe's top leaders and Zelensky. French President Macron, German Chancellor Merz, Finnish President Stubb, NATO Secretary General Rudy, and Zelensky himself. Here's what America's closest allies said when they thought no one was listening. Macron used the word betrayal. He warned Zelensky that Washington would pressure Ukraine into concessions without security guarantees. Chancellor Merz told Zelensky, "Be very careful in the coming days. The United States is playing games with you and with us." President Stubb warned that Zelensky must not be left alone with Kushner and Witkoff, Trump's envoys. "We must not leave Zelensky alone with these guys." NATO's Rutte emphasized that Zelensky himself must be protected from America. In 75 years of NATO, European leaders have never spoken about America this way. And it's not because Europe changed. It's because America abandoned every principle it stood for. China must be watching in amazement. For decades, America lectured China about international law and democracy. Now America betrays allies, aligns with authoritarian Russia, and destabilizes global order. Xi Jinping didn't need to do anything. Trump did the work for him. While Trump plays geopolitics he doesn't understand, Americans are suffering. 1.1 million jobs lost in 2025. That's 54% more than under Biden. Small business bankruptcies are skyrocketing. Even Fox News analysts admit Trump's tariffs and interest rates devastated small businesses. Under Biden, 16 million jobs created, record low unemployment, record growth. Under Trump, disaster. Healthcare? Trump stripped Affordable Care Act subsidies. In Texas, premiums will hit $3,000 monthly. 8 out of 10 Americans with ACA coverage, including 72% of Republicans, want subsidies extended. Trump and Mike Johnson are letting them expire anyway. Compare this to China's record. 800 million people lifted from poverty over 40 years. World's largest high-speed rail network. Global leader in renewable energy. Chinese living standards have improved dramatically. I'm not saying China is perfect, but when you compare who's improving citizens' lives, the contrast is staggering. Trump promised...
Yeah, so this is Obadiah chapter 1, verse 7. Says, "All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border," right? And that's ultimately where you're at now. You're being brought to the border, which, like I'm saying, that's why I showed the video, because that reminded me of the thing that Abraham Finkelstein said, that they were already through with America. Right? You heard him. He said they already squeezed. He says there's a phrase, "squeeze the blood out of the rock." And he said, "We done all the squeezing we knew." They done milked the cow until it can't be milked anymore. Right? So they're basically done with America. So he already said that they were going to set up China anyway. So no wonder why Macron was walking down there like he's giving them this honorable display, because now they're going to set up China as the leader of the world. Because why? China already had all the infrastructure to push forth the MOTB. Right? You know, they already have the social credit score and everything set up in place, and how it's to be run, and how they basically manipulated the people who live an everyday life as if there's nothing bugged out about this. You know, now the thing is to implement the MOTB to his citizens. See, and that's going to be the hard thing, to implement the social credit score and the MOTB at the same time. See, at least they had, like China had that, they kind of got used to the social credit score. You know, they kind of warmed up to that. Not to mention they're heathen, so they're gonna bow into the thing, and it doesn't even matter if they take the micro C hip or not. It's about you Israelites. Whether you look like Moab and you're an Israelite, you bet not take it. You look like the French dudes and over there in France, you bet not take it. You look like the people over there in Ethiopia, but your bloodline goes back to Israel, right? Because this ain't for all this ain't for anybody who say they picked up a Bible and say they believe in and all this other stuff. This is for the Israelites, and this is for the true Israelites who's Israelite inwardly and outwardly, right? Right? Believe in this, because the only way to even get on, you know, so to speak, you know, you gotta have a criteria to even, you know, what they call, like when you try out, you know, but you gotta have the criteria to try out. You can't just walk up and not have criteria to try out. And part of the criteria is to be a male, right, and to be an Israelite male at that, in order for you to do this. And even that, many are called, but few are chosen. So let's get into this this border, right? Before I talk, it's like a
Strong's H 1366. Gevul. Gevul.
Gabul. This is border territories, right? And what do they say? They're blocking what? Flights. So it's gonna block you and put you and keep you to your territories. Which, like I said, I did a lesson on. It was a Mexican guy building the wall, and he told the Edomite, or what perceived to be an Edomite, that Mexico's paying for the wall because they know the dollar is going to collapse, and they don't want anyone to run over into Mexico, right? So all these things are going on behind the scenes, so to speak. So they're going to block you to your territory, your borders, right? Your territories enclosed with boundaries, right? So if they building those walls, right, you're going to be enclosed within these boundaries. If you can't take flights out of this place, you're going to be enclosed in boundaries, right? Yeah. So it says, the men, keep continuing on, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that ate thy bread, right? And America's given instrumental amount of money as foreign aid and war costs and missiles and machines and men, right, to Ukraine. And Ukraine is like, oh no, they don't want to continue to keep pouring in money. Well, if we're going there's no understanding to that whole thing, right? If I'm going broke, how can I help you? But I'm gonna get mad because America, they don't want to help us. If I can't help myself, how can I help you? But they ain't looking at it that way. But that also, I believe this is just, this is a stage. This is the theater, right? Based on what Abraham Finkelstein said, they were going to give it over to China anyway. So this is a way to say, hey, there's this tension, and it's given over to China. So, like they were saying, the actor, like the guy said something about, and this is not we say something about, this is not a script. It's not I forgot what he said, but he said something. But I'm like, yeah, because this is all staged, right? Right. This is all part of the theater of war, right? Theater for your mind, which they were going to give everything over to China in the first place. But it says, Salakia, and have laid a wound, right? Let's look up that word wound.
Strong's H 4204. Mazor.
Right? So it says, Mazor, right? A net, a trap, right? So this guy, he said that they've been speaking about this for over amount of 3 years or so. They've already been planning to so-called, come together against America because of Trump, right? So to speak. That's what they're saying, right? But why wait till now? Why wait till every country out right now is pushing forth the digital ID? Now you throw it out there? I call BS. I said it's because what? And so once you push the digital ID, there's nowhere for you to go. There won't be any flights. So then it's not just it looking like Trump shut it down. It said, hey, no, it was those other countries. They said we can't have any flights. So basically, if you don't fly, if your plan is to get out of here, out of America, this would be your best time to get out right now, right? Get whatever money you got or whatever money you don't got, and just forget it. Pay for a ticket. Don't even. Hey, even the Lord said, don't come back for your clothes. Just go, flee. And that's what you ought to do. If you're gonna flee, flee, because you ain't gonna be able to flee because they're setting it up where you can't leave. Right? It's a net. It's a trap. Matter of fact.
Strong's H2114. Zur.
Yeah. To be strange, to be a stranger. And see, that's what it is. Now they're saying, hey, look, even though you come from us, we're just gonna treat you as a stranger. We're gonna, which that's what they were gonna do in the first place. To become estranged, right? And that's what they said. Now look, we're gonna be estranged to you, right? Strange, another stranger, foreigner, an enemy, loathsome breath of breath. Oh, this is my part right here. I like this right here. Look, strange woman, because is that not what America is? Is she not the strange woman, the prostitute, the harlot that's on the scarlet covered beast? Right? She's the woman, she's the whore, she's the prostitute. So they're gonna say, hey, look, we realize you're the whore, you're the prostitute that's on the beast, and we're gonna look at you as strange, right? Because that's the pride America's always had. Like, they're not European. But then again, Trump has been saying that. He wants to kick out the so-called brown people and bring in the Norwegians and all these different people from all these different other Edomite countries, right? So it is not like he don't want it. And it's crazy that, I ain't no Trump supporter, but it's crazy that the dude who's an actual ally with Russia long before Trump was ever an ally with the guy, or even not ally, because obviously right now you can't say he's allied. If he's making deals and he's pulling out sanctions off of them, it's probably to make relations better, But this guy in China has a complete relationship with him, and he had it for years. He's part of the BRICS. So how do you roll out the red carpet and then say, oh, Trump is this because he's had relationship, but this guy is part of the BRICS with China? Then he said how they stole them. China pulled the people out. Well, you're saying they had 40 years. Trump only been president twice within the time. How would he have time to lift it out of the gutter, so to speak, or under? Not to mention funding a war which you're going broke to fund a war that you're losing. You know what I'm saying? And that's probably why Trump was like, okay, well, you're losing this. Must be why he wanted to get some of the minerals from the land. Okay, if we're going to fund you, if we can get something back, it's no problem to keep funding you in the war because at least there's something coming back. But hey, I don't know, But yeah, this definitely is the horror to be estranged. Yep. To be a stranger, to be one alienated. And that's what they're doing. They're separating from America. They're separating from this whore, and they're going to alienate this whore. Right? Yeah. So yeah. And have laid a wound under you. Right? There is no understanding in him. Right? There's no understanding in Trump. I believe he truly is like the patsy. Right? He's the scapegoat. Right? Because he's basically set up like Hitler, right? Because they set him up. They let him do all these different scientific things because what at that time, even Edomites was they were in their mind they were super religious, right? And in Russia. They were super religious, which they kind of basically spoke about that. The Abraham Finkelstein kind of slightly spoke about that because they were super religious, right? Until, until Amalek came over and took over. Same thing with America. They were super religious. They were super religious and superstitious, right? To the point that they wouldn't have allowed certain scientifical, what they call science, because they thought it was freaky. They thought you were invoking the devil and this and that, and they actually really believed that they were the people of God, right? And and through them infiltrating and tearing down the moral society through they deceived Hitler, split up the scientists, which is Project Paperclip. Half of the scientists went to America, the other half went to Russia. They had the so-called space race. Russia won the space race, and China had to try to one-up them and say that they made it to the moon, which they didn't. It was a lie. And you have the deterioration of the world as you can see through these different these men. Also, they gave them they were basically licensed hitmen too. A lot of those scientists and the KGB, right? And of course CIA, and they trained them in this and that to create these different, these things, and yeah, that's the time that now you're living in these times where the micro C hip is about to be pushed, and they gotta set up this patsy. They gotta set up the fall guy, and there's no understanding in him, right? It says all the men allied with you shall send you on your way to the border, right? Saying, hey, you can't come out. We're gonna let you fly. There's a no-fly zone, so on and so forth, right? We're gonna ban you, so to speak. But I believe it's all set up because they about the dollar is gonna collapse. There's nowhere for you to go. Mexico, he said that Mexico was gonna build a wall, and Mexico is building a wall. So when the dollar collapsed, no one can run into Mexico. So they keep you to your territories, right? The men who were at peace with you shall deceive you and you deceive you and overpower you, Slakia. Those who ate your bread, those who you trusted, shall set a hostile ambush, right? Yeah, and that's what that was. That was a hostile ambush, so to speak. It said before the stock market was open, they had already basically put these sanctions on America, unprecedented, right? So we got to wait to feel the effects of it, because you're definitely going to feel the effects at the at the grocery store in the coming months, right? Right before 2026, right? When they're trying to push forth the digital IDs and all these other different things, which if you don't have the digital ID, you can't work, you can't do this, you can't do that, and it's going to be the only way you can feed your family. So a lot of people are going to bend to the will of the devil, right? For you, there is no understanding of it. Will I not on that day say, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakal destroy the wise men from Edom, removing all the wisdom and understanding from the mountain, right? The government, right, or the chief house of Edom, right, which is America right now. At this point, the chief house of Edom is America, but all the Edomites technically, but the main chief is America, right? And there ain't no understanding, right? So I think that's what it is. Ultimately, he's cooked, or maybe it's all set up anyway. They knew that, because you got to do something to have a crisis for the dollar collapse. So that way there's a reason to say, well, we have to switch over to this thing because, or else we can't survive. Okay, or else we can't move on into the new world that there is, because everything has changed. So because everything is going digital, we won't function. We won't function because we don't have nothing. We have no infrastructure. We if they didn't move all the industries everywhere, you could say, hey, let them have all that technology, and we'll do the things and still live like it's 1920s or something. And do the factories and do the things and farm and do things as you always did, like being in the old world, and we don't need you. But they couldn't do that because they gave everything away. Even you people, you fell for it, right? It used to be everybody had a animal in their yard and a couple of chickens and even at least a small garden that had food, right? Pretty much everybody gave that away. You have a lot of people trying to have their gardens now, but guess what they're going to be having? Military troops. They're going to come and root out your garden. They're going to stomp it all out and have the military eat it or burn it up. Now what do? They're going to force you. They're going to cause you to take the mark, right? Yes, like a wound, and that wound is to be a strange woman, a whore. So it says Revelation chapter 17, verse 1, and there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore, right? Which is America, Babylon the Great, right? That sitteth upon many waters, basically showing that they have these military bases all over the world. They have this power, but with all these sanctions and things, and you're not being able to to pay for a lot of these things. Hey, what could you do with vessels and things everywhere? You're gonna have to do. I mean, he's mentioning. Trump keep mentioning how Biden ended up pulling the troops out and leaving a lot of equipment there. But you're gonna have to leave a lot of equipment or a lot of men wherever they're at, all over the world. There's gonna be no bringing them back home, right? And definitely when you go fight World War III, there won't be no bringing you home. Cause the Lord ain't finna give you the opportunity to build back, right? What do you call build back better? You're not gonna do that. You're not gonna make America great. You're not gonna make any kingdoms. You're not gonna fill the face of the earth with cities anymore, as the scriptures say. It says with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and saying that's what it is. You committed fornication, and now they're looking at you like, the fuck? Oh, now they're looking at you estranged. You know what I'm saying? And it's almost like the prostitute that the Pharisees, the scribes and the Pharisees pulled out in front of Yahweh Shai. Hey, look at this woman. We call her an adultery. Well, how did you catch her in adultery? And how did you know where to look? Because you dealt with her before, right? That's probably what Yahweh Shai wrote in the sand. Well, you dealt with her Tuesday. You dealt with her earlier than today. You know what I mean? How dare you? Okay, you without a sin, cast the first stone. Knowing all of you here slept with this woman. Now she's called adultery. Now she gets stoned? Well, if that's the case, then all you would need to be stoned, right? Because at this point, what the scripture says, if you're joined to a harlot, you're one with the harlot. Man, come on, bro. What's wrong with you? But that's what it is, man. They're joined. They're one with the harlot, and now they're trying to separate themselves, right? But they have what? Committed fornication, and the habitations of the earth have been made drunken with the wine of her fornications, right? Different backdoor deals, and ultimately it's really to keep the Israelites sleep, so to speak, that they were trying to do. But of course, the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Shai, hey, it's not a thing. It's a living thing. It's not something you could just keep on the wraps, because it's a spirit. We're born with the spirit. He told Jeremiah that I knew you in the womb, right? He said, I have set up you before the foundations of the world, dealing with the elect. So this is before the world even began. The elect helped create the world. The Lord allowed the elect to create you. So can you call the potter? Can you tell the potter that why have thou made me? But then yet you think you're gonna block the blessing The Lord said, no dog should move his tongue, and there's no enchantment against it says Jacob, but really it's Yasharallah, man. Right? We the sons of the power. We the sons of God, man. Lord willing, be part of that number. But it says, so he carried me away in the spirit unto the wilderness, which is America, and I saw a woman sat upon the scarlet colored beast, right, which is NATO, right? EU, NATO, full of names of abominations, right? Saying they're you wish, they're British, right? Right? Because I believe British means it goes into being a commandment keeper. Can't remember exactly how break it down, but it basically, which you didn't keep no commandments, right? Right? You did everything but that, You called the Lord Jehovah or Yahweh, and the Lord Yeshua or Jesus, and those are blasphemies, and you blaspheme against the Holy Spirit, right? You try to change the image of the Father, the Son, you know what I mean, and to fit your own narrative, the iconoclasms and all these other things that you have done, right? Those are blasphemies. Having 7 heads and 10 horns, right? Yep. Going back into your you being those ruling class, the was it Greek? The Greeks, I know it was one go back further, but I know the Greeks, Germanian Major, Germanian Minor, Denmark, was it Luxembourg, I go Spain, I think I said Germany, yeah, basically, yeah, some UK, right? UK, all these different, going back into these rulerships that you had, but it says the woman was arrayed and in purple, right? Meaning that rulership that you gave over to the 8th, because it says the 7 heads, and then it says one the 8th that cometh from the 7, which being America, Babylon the Great, right? Arrayed in purple and scarlet colored and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations, right? And we, the abominations here, same-sex marriage, adultery, abominable foods. There is no God, right? You can worship any God you want to. It's just a bunch of madness, man. And filthiness of her fornication. See, and they'll give you things like freedom, but your freedom is only to be a freak, right? To be, just to be out of your mind, right? With no guidance, no true guidance of righteousness, of true righteousness, and unto her, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon. See, and that's why everybody, well, who could be Babylon? See, America was all so great. See, and that's why that great time of the 40s and the 50s, it's all gone, and now you're being seen, right? Even by your allies, right? Now there's no more of a mystery. Mystery Babylon, the great, the mother of what? Of harlots. See, they're going to estrange themselves from that harlot, right? Harlot and abominations of the earth, right? I'll just skip down to here. It says, Revelation chapter 17, verse 15, and he saith unto me, which is the angel, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sat upon our people, right? And multitudes and nations, right? And that's what America is known as, the melting pot, right? Many different nations and peoples, and even the UK is known for that, right? Having many different diversities of people. This is just a thing that the Edomites like to do, which I was just watching a video, which Putin is taking the same playbook out of Europe's, the UK and America's playbook, right? Now they're bringing in a bunch of foreigners, right? And then it's messing up the labor market for the actual Russians. So of course, people they're gonna get offended at the new so-called immigrants, but they're not gonna be offended, and that's what you dumbass Americans done. You got offended at the people coming in here, but you're not offended at the people who allowed them to come in, who this whole guys it was really all about, right? This is all a ploy to mess up the system, so they can say there's a reason to reset the system, right? And that's what you want to understand. It's a bigger play to everything that they're doing, and that's what's happening right now, right? And it says, sat upon our people multitudes and nations and tongues, right? And the 10 horns, right? Which I already explained that, which thou sat upon, which I didn't go through all of them, but I want to give you, some of them. Yeah, Germania Major, Germania Minor, Luxembourg, what was it? Germany, Greece, France, Denmark. Dang, keep drawing a blank. But yeah, that's just some of the ones. You have to look it up for yourself. That's just giving you some tidbits. Next time I'll have my little list or something so I can remember. I don't remember like I used to. But yeah, it says which sat upon the beast, those shall hate the whore, right? And that's where they're at now. At the time where they're estranged from the whore, right? They shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked, right? And they're exposing it. They saying you're creating these different basically saying that they're creating war crimes. Basically they were basically calling Trump a war criminal, so to speak. They didn't just come out and say it, but pretty much they were saying, we don't like, you're not keeping up with your policies. You're basically like a war criminal for the things that you're doing over there in Venezuela with the boats. So yeah, they're exposing them. And naked, and shall eat her flesh, right? And at the overall, they're all going to shoot missiles upon this place, right? And they're gonna eat her flesh and burn her with fire, and that's the missiles, man. Ultimately, it says, for the power Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai have put it in their mind. See, because really all this is a shuck and jive. It's a game. It's smoke and mirrors. But what's going to happen is the Lord is going to put in their minds, and they're going to turn this make believe into real. Because since you have real bullets, since you have real missiles, let's put this to work, right? And you're going to fulfill, right? Put it in their heart, put it in their heart, which is their mind, their heart, to fill His will, right? And you're going to fulfill the will of the power Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? Yahweh being the Father, Yahweh Shai being the Son, right? The Elohim being the angels, and everything is working for the good for them, for those who love Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, to bring forth the kingdom, and to agree and to give their kingdom into the hand of the beast until the word of the power shall be fulfilled, right? And that's what's happening right now. So this is Isaiah 47 showing you this is all prophecy, right? Because you say that the Old Testament is done away with. Well, watch this precept, how it lines up clearly with Revelation, because Revelation is future. It's a future prophecy. That's what Revelation is, right? But you people who say you believe in God, you don't believe in God, really. You ain't looking at this. It's a living book, right? It says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. See, right? Mystery Babylon, which is the daughter of Babylon, which is not talking about ancient Babylon. It's talking about the daughter of Babylon, right? It's going to link up, and this is well before Revelation, but it hasn't happened yet, right? But it's linking. Revelation links up with this, right? So you show it's the daughter, which is America, sit on the ground. There is no throne, right? And then they just said that the throne was given to what? To China, so to speak. But really, the throne is going to go to Yahweh Shai and King David, you know, and the rest of the elect, the 144,000, and you know, the men, women, and children who's part of that number. And every man, truly, every Israelite man is going to be a king anyway. But you know, that's after you come back after the second death, after the 1,000-year reign with Yahweh Shai, and you know those that come back through childbirth. But it says, O daughter of the Chaldeans, right? The witchcraft that they're trying to pull, right? For thou shall no more be called tender and delicate, right? And that's what's happening now. They're not. That's what they're doing. They're shunning that whore, right? They're estranging themselves from that whore. They're setting it up. They're setting up a trap. They set it up. Boom, hit it down. Sanction, right? But it's all. I believe it's all in the bringing the MOTB. It's all smoke and mirrors. But the Lord is going to go into their mind and make them shoot the missiles, man. Take the millstone, grind the mill. You know, your jobs, you're working, right? Take the millstone, grind the mill, right? Maybe people are also what do you call it? Prepping, taking the mill and prepping them and trying to put away for a case there's some type of destruction, right? But it ain't gonna help you. Uncover thy locks, right? Because a woman's head, it tells you when a woman is praying, right? She should have her head covered, right? So it's uncover the head, right? And it tells you if a woman head is uncovered, she should be shorn or shaven, right? For it is a shame for a woman to have her head uncovered. So that's what it is. It's showing the shame to uncover the locks. Uncover the locks, make bare the legs, uncover the thighs, right? So you're showing this woman is a harlot. She got mouths. She been ran through. She been piped down too many times, right? She got that weird roast beef look to the thing that's in between her legs, right? You know, uncover the thighs, pass over the rivers, right? There ain't no more water. It ain't even get wet no more, right? So you know, going into you know your provision, your water in your fields, your farmland and things. You have no water. And if you do have water, you're gonna have to pay for it, and you have to pay for it with more than one thing. You're gonna have to get the karagma, and that's what's coming, man. Right? You're gonna put it in your right hand, your left hand, or in your forehead. Right? That's the only way you're gonna be able to eat or drink. It says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance and will not meet thee as a man, saying that's the time that the Lord is going to take vengeance when they come against the elect, trying to push forth the micro C-hip, which is the mark of the beast. And so the Lord is not going to meet them as a man. For as for our Redeemer, which that's what Yahweh Shai is, he paid for us with his blood. And that's what you do when you pay for something. You do what? You redeem it. Right? It says, and Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakal Kadash, of hosts, right? Hosts meaning armies, is his name, right? Because the Lord said that he's coming back in his Father's glory to take his kingdom, right? You know, it's going to be his Father's glory, but the kingdom is his. It belongs to him, right? The Holy One of Israel, of Yahshua Allah, right? So sit thus silent and get thee into darkness, right? And that was, I don't think I read it down far enough, and I believe that was one of the the things to that wound. One of the definitions to the wound is darkness, right? O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called a lady of kingdoms. And that's what they were saying. Hey, we don't know if we can trust them no more. And we're done with America, and we're through. We don't know. You're no more the lady of king, because the place that it was unseemable, that they said it was the most valuable asset that no one thought it would ever happen, right? And it's happening, right? But we knew it, right? Let me go back to that thing just to now close out. Okay, yeah, came back here to Obadiah 1:7. And go back to that where the wound is at, and I believe one of those things was darkness. I think when you go into the, oh no, I'm in the wrong joint. No. Did I go to wound? Yeah. Strange. Oh no. That's what it was. Salakia. It was border. When you go into the, oh yeah, darkness. Region, right? And territory of darkness. See? That's what it was. So that's what it is, yeah. So I'm going to leave you to your territory of darkness, which that's the reason why America is going to be the one place that's going to be the lake of fire. You're going to be left to your territory. You ain't going to be able to fly out. You're not going to be able to go over the wall because Mexico's paying for the wall, which Trump said that was going to happen, right? And there's not going to be no place for you to run and hide or anything. And the missiles are going to hit, and you will be in darkness, on fire, in the lake of fire. You know, and that will be all. After you get the charagma, the karax, the grapho, thinking you're saving yourself, and then the word of the Lord, which obviously is going out before you. And if they're speeding up the time, that time is going to speed up even faster. Via they're trying to offset prophecy by micro C hip and the elect, which cannot happen for the elect. Shown if it were possible, they would even deceive the very elect, but it's not possible. So call Elohim Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachaha Kodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles and bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, hey, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters, your achwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence and a Bible ball. Chom Yasharallah.